Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting a few minutes for Dominic and Mache to join and jump on and speak.
Hello.
Hey, Dominic, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you still? Where in the world are you based right now, Dom?
I'm calling in from Japan.
Japan.
Just,
Lucky man. I was looking at Japan and I still noticed that they haven't quite opened the borders yet. I'm yet to get a Japanese ski trip, and I'm hoping they'll be open by January.
Yeah, I think they're slowly opening. So maybe you have a chance to get some powder over here. Yeah, but let's see.
I'm just waiting for Matcha to join and accept speaking. It might be the classic Twitter Spaces where you're not on a mobile phone, so you can't speak, you can't accept the invite when you're not on the phone. One of the biggest pain points of Twitter Spaces is that you have to join and speak from a mobile device. It's terrible.
Yep. So I had to re-download the Twitter app again. I tend to delete it, otherwise I'm spending all my time on Twitter. It's not good.
I'm sorry for making you do that. Delete that as soon as you're done.
Exactly.
Otherwise, soon you might have Elon Musk watching you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just jumping off, but anyway, why don't we get started, Dom? And why don't you introduce, or I'll just welcome everyone to I think this is our fourth SubQuery sessions Twitter Spaces, and we run these every fortnight with different guests from around the Polkadot, and soon more ecosystems outside of Polkadot. Especially today, we're starting to talk a bit more about other ecosystems like Bitcoin and kind of the blockchain world in general. But thank you all for joining. It'll be recorded, so you can watch it or listen to it later on our YouTube channel. But without further ado, let me introduce Dominic. Dominic Hart is from Interlay. Dominic, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself and perhaps tell us a little bit about what Interlay does?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for having me. And hi, I'm Dom. So you don't have to do the full on thing. It's a bit easier. And I'm one of the co-founders of Interlay. I'm heading like the kind of the product and engineering team there. We got started off about 2.5 years, a bit more ago. We came from academia before. So Alexei, who started the company with me, and we did our PhDs at Imperial College in London, and we collaborated on a paper how to bridge Bitcoin over to other ecosystems, and we ended up building that as a product. And now that's known as IBTC on the Polkadot relay chain, or the Polkadot ecosystem, and KBTC in the Kusama ecosystem. And we're all about basically bringing over decentralized and collateralized Bitcoin to the Kusama ecosystem. So as a big comparison to the other Bitcoin bridges that are out there, anyone can be a custodian in our network, but they have to provide collateral. So basically, we're trying to be what DAI and Maker is to stable coins, basically in the Bitcoin bridge world. Make it collateralized, make it decentralized. And I think especially in today's topic on the bear market, it's interesting to have kind of DeFi protocols that bring collateralized positions to the world, because they tend to hold up a lot better in like crisis situations.
Yeah, we've certainly seen good examples of that over the past few months, actually. But we'll come back to that. And Mache, is that how you pronounce your name, Mache? Am I doing
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Perfect. I always get caught up with where are you from, Mache?
So hello everyone. I'm from Poland. Nice to be here.
Yeah, welcome. And please introduce yourself, what you do, where you're from.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a software engineer doing software for like last 14 years. And my background is mostly smart contracts. And this is what I do professionally for the last 4 years now on different platforms. So about EVM, non-EVM, and I'm active user of blockchain and DeFi protocols.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. And today's topic is, of course, Bitcoin builders in a bear market. Obviously, everyone knows that we're in a bear market. You have to look at the blood red among not just the crypto markets, but equity markets around the world right now to know that everything's going down. And it's a fascinating time we live in. But one of the key things is that we keep building regardless of the color on the screen or the fate of the markets. And I'm really curious to know, like, we've got two guests here today. One covers the old way or is trying to bridge the old with Bitcoin to the new, and Marchi also is here to represent kind of the new with the smart contracts and Rust development. So I guess let's talk about this. Let's get the elephant out of the room, right? We're going to a bear market. How long do you think we're going to be in the bear market for, Dominic?
That's a very interesting question to which I have almost no answer.
If you do, then you're a very rich man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think nobody really knows. I personally guess it'll take maybe a year, maybe a bit longer. I think enough time to build proper stuff that can withstand the next bear market when it comes after the next bull cycle. Yeah. And I think it's a kind of, I see it as a longer opportunity now to focus on like fundamentally good economic design, where it's kind of nice to have not the pressure of maximizing token revenues that you usually see in like the bull market.
Yeah, definitely, and you're seeing a lot of that, right? There's all these protocols that had promised the world, promised ridiculously sky high APYs or APRs, and kind of as the tide goes out, you the people that are swimming naked, remain to all at sea, and we're seeing that today. And you mentioned in your intro, right, the whole rise of collateralized protocols or the demise of those that are not. So maybe for those that aren't from Imperial College, Dom, maybe explain like what is collateralization and why is it like super important that protocols and assets are collateralized?
Yeah, thanks. So essentially, what you're trying to do when you generate an asset is like, does it have value that's backing the asset? So if you look at DAI and Maker, for example, every DAI is backed by some sort of collateral, financial collateral, and it's over collateralized. So you always have more collateral in the system than DAI that are issued, which means that if your stablecoin is kind of crashing and not doing as it should be doing, and positions would get liquidated, you have more collateral available to kind of buffer that out, so people can be liquidated, and there's an incentive to liquidate them because you can get the collateral. And the same way we are building our Bitcoin bridge, right? So in Rep BTC, for example, you just trust basically BitGo that they keep your Bitcoin secure. If that system would ever fail, like all the Bitcoin that are currently used on Ethereum and in DeFi would be lost. Whereas how we are building it is basically every Bitcoin that we're bridging over, we're making sure that, for example, on Kintsugi right now, that you have 150% of the Bitcoin value in KSM as a collateral asset there. So if your Bitcoin would ever get liquidated, you still have the collateral available to buffer that out. And I think that's the kind of the important. There was a lot of discussion in the last couple of weeks, especially with the Terra and Luna collapse, around like algo stables, and I think there was kind of a bit of a mix-up because technically DAI is also like an algorithmic, like it's all implemented in smart contracts, but it's collateralized and insured. And basically that's, I think, the narrative that works quite well in the bear market is this insurance. So basically the way that we build a bridge is like, you as a user, you have an insurance. Like if you cannot get your Bitcoin out, you can get the collateral back of whoever holds the Bitcoin in custody.
Yeah, absolutely important, right? But we're even seeing that today, though, like, when there are massive collapses and huge macroeconomic pressures on assets, there is a bank run that's, and it's kind of interesting to see what holds up under this enormous pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where it comes, collateralization is great, but then you need to dig a little bit deeper on, what assets do you actually allow as a collateral? What kind of ceilings do you set? Like how much collateralization do you actually allow? So for example, if we go back to Maker, I'm talking a lot about Maker right now, but they basically, they're very strict about which collateral asset do they actually accept and what price impact does it have? Because for example, if we assume that the entirety of ETH, which is their biggest collateral, would go down, well, then the market is anyway in very big trouble. And for us, for example, when we're now launching IBTC in a couple of weeks, DOT will be the primary asset. So it's not DOT as a collateral, it's not tied to our platform, right? It's in academia, you would say kind of an exogenous asset, but really what it does is we tie the security of our Bitcoin bridge to the DOT price or the DOT token, which is much larger than we as Interlay as a project. So even if we were to fail, which I don't think we will, but even if that would happen, you'd still have the DOT, right? It's not tied to our token or anything.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we're going to a bear market, which is time to be building, right? And Maciej, what are you building that's going to be the next generation of blockchain builders out there?
Yeah, so definitely we're in the building phase, and like we already been through two major building phases. I remember after 2014, when Bitcoin hit 1,000, and we had a long period of not doing really not much happening, and then suddenly we had this boom to 20,000 on Bitcoin because all of the DeFi, and then it just like massive amount of money flowed into developers, into teams, and it took people like 2 years to build up and release software now in 2020. And then we had another huge spike, huge boom on what stuff can be done on blockchain. And I think exactly as Dominic said, that's gonna last 1 year, year and a half for the next protocols, for the next products to release. Another thing is it's really good to see like those products to fail, things like Terra, but also others, and see that some of them, like some stable coins, lose back. They're not stable, and that shows the problems with the design. So exactly as Dominic said, for example, like having DOT as a collateral, it's a good thing because it's a quite stable. It will be in the top 10, I think, always. So it's a good collateral, and picking right collateral is a perfect thing you can optimize. Yeah, so year and a half of building now. We're all really curious what's going to happen. There's even in the Bitcoin, if you look at what happens in the Bitcoin development, you have this large projects like Stacks, you have Liquid, you have Lightning channels. I think all of this will get better, and we'll see more adoption there, and hopefully other blockchains, other protocols like Polkadot, like Interlay, they'll connect to this second layer of Bitcoin to bring interoperability there.
So yeah, I'm keen to dig in. What is your view on the role that Bitcoin's going to have going forward, right? Because Bitcoin's been around for 2007, and I think if there's ever evidence that there are aliens on this planet, it's Satoshi Nakamoto. The fact that this guy holds the keys to billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and yet we still haven't been able to track him down, just is amazing to me. But forgetting about the man or the myth or the group or the woman behind Bitcoin, what do you think the role is of Bitcoin going forward, especially in the bear market, but even the next bull run?
Like when Bitcoin was created, I don't think Satoshi could even have a vision of what's going to happen. So I think he would be really happy of what we built so far. But the situation that we see is that we're going into interconnected world. So look what happens. Starting with Polkadot, I really like the model of Polkadot where you have beacon chain in the middle that allows for communication between and the security of other connected chains, even that those chains can talk to each other directly, which is also great. And then look at what Ethereum is doing. They're now in the rollup centric model where you have sidechains all around. And if you think about it, it's exactly the same model as Polkadot has, but with different. The difference is that those side channels, not channels, side blocks, blockchains has to pay for the interaction with the beacon chain, while in Polkadot you don't have it. So, and now Ethereum is going in the model where they will allow for enable more side chains through introducing new models of zero knowledge. And I see the same for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin will eventually become the base layer for many other chains, blockchains, that gonna just source security in it. I don't really think about what you could do with the BTC as a collateral. The main thing is that Bitcoin needs to have its value so the network is secure, and that we already achieved. Hopefully that's not going to change. So I see the Bitcoin as a base layer for the security of other chains. And hopefully we'll have only one proof of work blockchain, that is Bitcoin. We don't need more.
Well, yeah, hopefully Ethereum will upgrade to proof of stake. What about you, Dom? What do you think about the role of Bitcoin going forward?
Yeah, I think that was a really good summary already. Maybe there's one thing that probably gonna change, or I want to slightly alter that. So essentially, I fully agree that you will have central chains with rollups, L2s, sharded systems like Polkadot is, and I think maybe next kind of bull run we will finally see being Bitcoin unlocked in DeFi, because if you look at the numbers right now, you have a bunch of RapBTC, which is on Ethereum, but it's really just a fraction of the entirety of Bitcoin. And when you look where financial products are currently happening with Bitcoin, it's on centralized places like Deribit or BitMax. And I think we probably want to go to a stage where we can bridge Bitcoin in a way that it satisfies most Bitcoin users, so you can have these financial products actually in a decentralized way. I'm not sure if Bitcoin can ever be used as a base security layer. It's pretty tough because changes in Bitcoin are quite slow. We got Taproot now, which is great, and I think there's some development going on around Lightning and Stacks and all that stuff, but I'm not sure if they would ever kind of consider being friendly to rollups or something like that. So let's see. I personally think that the majority of Bitcoin DeFi will happen outside of Bitcoin. We just need to make sure that we build the bridges that bridge away from Bitcoin in a very user-friendly and secure way. And that's, to me, the big challenge.
Yeah, and doing it obviously in a secure way as well. There's not many weeks that go by without some kind of hack to some bridge or some other protocol that connects to other ecosystems. So Interlay, you guys are doing a lot of work in that space, right? You're doing a lot of work on the vaults to avoid
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this stuff quite for a long time now, right? So we how it actually, kind of works under the hood. You have these collateralized vaults, so you can mint a rep token with anyone that has provided enough collateral. You don't have any kind of um, like trust in a third party to report on the Bitcoin state. So if you lock your Bitcoin with the vault on the Bitcoin blockchain, then we have a BTC relay, like a light client. So we have a cryptographic proof, basically, that transactions are happening on Bitcoin, and we can prove that on the Polkadot side or our Interlay parachain, our shard, by using like a trustless light client. So essentially, we're storing all the Bitcoin block headers on our parachain, and we've been building this stuff for quite a while. I mean, we really want to see Bitcoin DeFi happening in the future, and we want to see it in a way that anybody can just join. You can't restrict who will be a custodian. We want anybody to just be able to bridge over, and we want to see that in kind of a sustainable way, that all the custodians also, are financially incentivized to actually operate this infrastructure, much like operating like validators in the proof of stake network is quite attractive.
But it's an important service, right? Like, I think for many of us in blockchain, myself included, and I'm sure you as well, Dominic, Bitcoin was the first thing I heard about in this space. I remember hearing about Bitcoin back in 2013 when it surpassed $1,000, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy. I obviously kicked myself in the foot that I didn't buy any at that time, but that's the life of crypto, right? You would have, could have, should have. Never was the right time. What was your first intro into crypto? Was it through Bitcoin as well?
Funnily enough, for me, it was Ethereum that first got me hooked. Alexei's been working, so my co-founder has been working on Bitcoin for like 2014 or something like that. So he was on Bitcoin first, but I read about the DAO before it got hacked in Ethereum, and I was kind of in my master's then. I was super interested in like AI and that jazz, and ultimately the DAO was super interesting for me for coordinating like agents. So I got hooked on blockchain, and then I eventually kind of switched over to more distributed systems stuff. And then it kind of just happened that I was always kind of interested in both of these technologies, and then Polkadot came around, and to me, it's like, I think it's good that we have all these different chains. They're useful because they have different properties, right? So you get different kind of systems that you can optimize, and Polkadot takes it to the next level where you build your own parachains that get the security from Polkadot, but you can really optimize your runtime for specific use cases. So we get like a Bitcoin Bridge, or you get Moonbeam with their EVM support, Acala with their stablecoin and general DeFi, Hydra with trading. Like, you have so many different like specialized chains. And yeah, I think we should just, make sure that we bridge over. It looks like in the end, I guess the final vision is you have one great wallet that you can use, and you don't care really anymore with which chain you're interacting, but it's all like hidden away from you. But all the protocols underneath it, they really deeply care about security of each other and care about the security of the system as a whole, and we can make DeFi work that way.
And it's interesting, everyone I talk to in the space shares that kind of end goal vision of these applications where you don't really know what protocols are under the hood. You don't really know exactly how it interacts between different chains. It abstracts all that detail from the users and just provides a very clean user interface. And it's interesting that everyone shares that vision. Do you think we're going to get there during this next kind of bear builders market?
Probably not quite yet, where it's completely transparent to the user. I think there's too many open technical problems still. There's a lot of progress being made, but I think I think next cycle, if I want to make a prediction, then it's going to be people likely going to care a lot more about sustainable DeFi protocols, in the sense that you wouldn't necessarily only provide liquidity to a DeFi protocol if it gives you their own token as a reward, but rather some sort of share of the revenue that's generated by the protocol itself. That's probably something that we'll see on the UX side. It's probably going to be improved, but that you will have a completely chain agnostic view. I think maybe in the kind of interoperability ecosystem, so like within the Polkadot space or within the Cosmos space, you might have that, but across the space, I'm not sure if we're going to be there already.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point about people might have been, or probably will have been, a little bit hurt by some of these protocols that have gone down this current turmoil. What about you, Maciej? What do you think the next bear? What are your predictions for this bear market and the builders we're going to build in the next few years, and what we'll see in the next bull cycle?
So my hope, I put all my hopes in zero knowledge based blockchains that enable you to interact with the blockchain like it is a normal website, and that can store huge amounts of data. So hopefully with the development of chains like ZK Sync or StarkWare, we will see much larger volume of users on those platforms. Look at DXDY, huge volumes, a lot of users because everything is cheap or even for free. I think we will see products with that kind of specifics, with that kind of characteristic that will just shine, and hopefully we will have like maybe games. This is huge huge market that actually needs like we have everything we need for large MMOs now. We have whole code infrastructure for trading like swords, shields, having a gold, have all this code for markets, for trading, and in addition we have ability to do operation on chain almost for free. That allows you to like quickly interact with others through blockchain. So that's my hope, and I'm looking forward into social networks. Hopefully, we'll see more work there. Maybe someone is working on something large now that's just gonna be free and decentralized.
Yeah. So in summary, you're looking for scalability improvements to the amount of users, of data, of transactions that can be stored in a blockchain to really allow us to scale the number of users using these protocols.
Yeah, because some of these ideas like are fine, but starting from some amount of users, and with the current technology, it's really hard to get the critical mass of
users.
So something is so something is too large to fail, basically. Like
especially social networks, right? You need to have every man, their wife, and their dog, and on the social network to make it reach that critical mass, of course.
Yeah, I'm looking at even at those social networks that already exist, like Twitter or Reddit. I hope those guys, developers at the top, will make the right calls and just add more decentralized features and see how it goes. Because someone needs to experiment with this.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of running a business in this market right now, running a project, and I'm curious to know a bit more about how Interlay is approaching this, right? Y Combinator, which is one of the most famous, how would you say it's incubator, Silicon Valley accelerator, came out recently and said that it's going to be a pretty tricky time and make sure you can reach default live. And their definition of default live is basically where you create enough revenue to offset your costs, where you can become profitable. How do you think a lot of these protocols that for a long time have, provided a lot of attractive ROI and really just enjoyed, the ability to raise money and give it away to attract users? Do you think they're going to survive, or do you think a lot of these protocols will be forced to make some real tough decisions?
I think tough decisions will definitely have to be made. I think a lot of protocols will survive for sure. The big change, in my opinion, that is going to happen is to move or focus specifically on or double down on product market fit. Do you actually have the user base? Do you have does your equation make sense? Usually most protocols, I guess we, as Interlay, we are also a protocol, so we're kind of a marketplace between different parties, right? So we have vaults that provide collateral, we have users that want to bridge Bitcoin over, then we kind of have our governance users and so on and so forth. And in the end, most protocols will face this, does adding liquidity to this protocol actually make sense in the long run? Does the protocol provide some sort of value for all the involved parties, and can the protocol sustainably generate fees from that value that it provides? And can then the protocol as a whole redistribute the fees to the protocol's governance token holders, right? That's, I think, the long-term thing, and that there's going to be a lot more focus on that. And it's quite interesting because I think there's two angles and views to that, where in one side you have the core protocol. So Interlay, we as a chain, right? The chain's live, it's decentralized, anybody can just do governance proposals, anybody can just run this thing. And then there's the second view, is the companies behind it. So a lot of protocols are built in kind of this Uniswap style labs model, right? So we have also there's a company, an entity that develops this protocol, that contributes, is the main contributor to this protocol. Technically, we are not required anymore. The chain will run without us, but obviously we are the ones who know this protocol really well, and we are the core contributors. So there's these two views, and I think from a company perspective, it's good to have some cash in reserve to kind of withstand the bear market. And from a protocol view, I think it's doubling down on this product market fit and sustainable business models.
Yeah, my view is one of the best things that's come out of this most recent bull market and this recent cycle is that a lot of government organizations around the world have really taken a strong, hard look at blockchain and really put some effort into understanding it beyond Bitcoin, beyond just the somewhat of speculative asset. And in my country, New Zealand, in Australia, we're seeing a lot of good stuff. I know that the States is looking into it a bit more. Do you think that trend or pattern, somewhat globally, of being a bit more open to blockchain as a future disruptive technology, is going to continue?
I'm pretty sure it will. Yeah, my biggest hope, I guess, is that it will happen in a quite differentiated and good discussions, because I think there's going to be quite some regulatory pressure in terms of a bunch of the centralized services going down, right? So 3-Arrow Capital going down, and Celsius, where it's important to understand that most DeFi protocols are doing fine, and the kind of Terra Luna flaws were, I think, discussed pretty early on, that this was economically not really a sound design. But then, I mean, in the bull market, nobody really cares so much about that. You can need a bear market for that. Yeah, but going forward, just crypto adoption will rise. I'm pretty sure about that. And and then we'll see what's going to happen on the regulatory side. with that. But I'm quite open to discussing these issues. We're seeing a lot of stuff in the EU right now that they want to kind of regulate it, but I think that most of the discussion right now is not very differentiated between kind of DeFi and centralized services.
How about you, Maciej? What are you seeing in Poland and further around the world?
Yeah, but before Poland, I just want to add that I think we will see a continuous funding from DAOs. I think about DAOs like a sponge that just attracts liquidity and money when the time is good. And hopefully now on the bear market, they will slowly release funding to teams that really need it and that they will continue building. Also, I see a lot of money coming from companies that has different revenue streams outside of the blockchain space, and they're like large development company, and they just have like a small branch that builds something blockchain, and that's going to continue because they have money. So, and there's also worth to mention that there's a lot of products that are needed, but they don't have revenue, they don't even consider revenue because they are tools. And what I think we have to build during this bear market is a lot of tooling that will prevent what happened now. So especially analytics, like right now, we didn't even have a right tools that will tell us that, for example, with this Solana hack, that the amounts on both sides on Ethereum and on Solana just are different, and they realized that after a few hours, or even a few days, which is kind of weird. So yeah, that's what I think. And in terms of what's happening in Poland, we have a lot of developers doing stuff. I see communities, people gathering on meetups, on conferences more and more. And this is not just simply people that want to trade NFTs, but core developers. More and more people are interested in what we can do on blockchain. I'm doing trainings in IT companies. That's because I see in those companies, mostly dev shops, that people come and ask, "Can you build me something like that on blockchain?" And with the blockchain is a different thing, that it's not simply a swap of database. You need to educate your client, and I really like that we see this happening, that people actually come and want to be educated and want to build something on blockchain, even if that's like everyone is building something on blockchain. I want it too, but then when they face the reality and someone will ask them right question, like, "What's your token model?" It's like, what does it mean? Isn't that just like database swap? No, it isn't. It's like, that's gonna be your core product. It's gonna act like this, and you need to secure your system from that kind of attack. So I see this happening, and it's really nice.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're coming to the end of our time here. Dominic, Maciej, it's a pleasure having you. Is there anything else you want to say? Final words? How can people follow you, get in touch, learn more?
So my company is Odra.dev, and we're building smart contracts. If someone is interested knowing more, just go to the website.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for having me. And yeah, if you want to follow Interlay, we have a Twitter account. Interlay.io is our website. We are live on Kintsugi or on Kusama. You can bridge over stuff. We have a testnet, so you can try it out, our platform, without losing any money, if you just want to kind of give it a go. And otherwise, thank you.
Yeah, get out there and put your Bitcoin to work.
Exactly.
Don't let it sit around.
I already did.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Well, Maciej, Dominic, Dom, thank you very much for your time today, and everyone else, wherever you are, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night. and have a wonderful time. We'll see you next fortnight. This will be recorded, so you see us on YouTube after. Having you listening into another episode of SubQuery Sessions, Bitcoin builders in the bear market. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.